Hello guys, this is Jamit Velasquez from Practice Real. The single most powerful thing that I've done both in my personal life and business life is to implement. So everything I learn, everything I've gained through experience during my language learning process as well as during my teaching career becomes relevant when I materialize all of that knowledge in the form of a product. But what do I mean by a product? Let's take English lessons, for example. That would be a product. So the one thing or some of the things I would do as a teacher would be to first look at those words and structures, grammar structures that I needed to teach the student or the learner, then try to make sense out of the meaning or concept or idea behind that word or that new structure, the phonetics and the grammar rules. Then, as an added touch, we could say that I would emphasize the importance of that structure so that the learner could justify the return of investment. Investment being the effort, the energy, the time, everything that they were putting into trying to learn that new information, to simulate it. I would give them tips to simulate it more easily. We would practice and then assign homework. So that would be an English lesson, right? That was the implementation bit. But then I would just hope that the student would then go out into the real world, and whenever they bump into this real scenario where they could use this new structure, new word, they would use it and they would do it correctly. So that was just me hoping they would do it. But we need to know that after implementation comes follow-up. But I didn't really have a strong system of following up with the student and following up on them using the structure correctly, other than seeing if they could use it in the class in a fabricated example that I would put to them, would lay out to them and give them some context, or them telling me that they felt more confident while speaking, that the peers, boss, other people around them would tell them how much they've improved. But I didn't really have a solid system that would tell me how much they were improving other than wherever I could hear them say in the class. But we know that the environment in the class is not the real thing, right? So here's where the next phase comes. In this second phase, where I really needed to establish some sort of a way or system to literally put them to the test in a kind of real life scenario where they would use this new information. So as a teacher, I had two options. The first one being basically follow them around, hoping they would use this new information, this new word structure in a correct way in the ideal scenario. That was just out of the question. The second one would be for me to kind of create or promote a space where they would be in contact with native speakers in a context where it was more like the real world, and they would have to use all of that knowledge, all of those resources that they'd acquired throughout their learning process. So that was what I actually set out to do. What was it exactly that I set out to do myself? So what I decided to do was to create a program, like time bound, meaning like a month, called the Practice Club. So this Practice Club had as an objective or goal to provide a space or an environment as close to the one that you would come across or bump into, your real life, where a native speaker would use the words they would use, like the normal speech. They would not modify the way they speak, just use it and say it however they would say in a normal circumstances, and create a whole scenario where they will use it. How did it look? It basically looked like 4 weeks. So there would be a group of learners and then an in-person space where we will meet up for a couple of hours. I will be there myself, the native speaker with whom I had previously met up, for a few times, for a few weeks, planning and creating, designing this exercise where they would present, in that case, like business as close to a real scenario as it would be possible without getting too technical, more like intending for the learners to understand it and to be engaged, to engage them into conversation and to move them into giving some input and to engage in debate. We would do that for a couple of hours, and then after that one session, that would be a Saturday, say for 2 or 3 hours, and then in the following week we would meet up on Zoom for an hour and a half, and I would give them feedback. During that feedback, I would essentially give them suggestions for better communication. So whatever idea I kind of understood they wanted to give, I would basically give them suggestions of how to, string together some words in a way that would make more sense, and kind of help them with those suggestions, practice those suggestions, and then hope they would implement that in new information, or that information which didn't really supposed to be new. It wasn't meant to be teaching, just to suggest alternatives. Possibly things that they already know, but they didn't come to their minds at that very moment. Now, the thing is, it was feedback, not teaching. It was meant to be, a session where I would just give them these alternatives. They would ask me for clarification if you would practice that, and then that was it. That wasn't teaching. Knowing that the ultimate goal of teaching is for the student or the learner to learn, during those 2 feedback sessions, we would, more than occasionally, I would say, bump into these suggestions that maybe didn't quite make sense to the learners in the way that they didn't really know that language. They didn't really know the word, or the structure. So it was something new to them, or they'd seen it, but they'd seen it maybe way earlier in their process and they didn't remember much. So they kind of needed more than just a suggestion and practice. They needed more like teaching. What do I mean by teaching? Essentially presenting the new information to them, kind of going step by step as you would when you're teaching a new information, and then kind of guide them through the whole new word or new system, new information in a way that's comfortable and helps them assimilate everything more easily. Knowing that I wanted to prioritize practicing, I knew that practice, is something that I would say that many learners and learning centers take for granted. They just tell the learner, just go ahead and practice what I've taught you, and then the learner just goes and in whichever way they find, fit or convenient, they do the homework, which is a way of practicing. And then they would just listen to music or watch a video. But is that really practicing? We could argue that it is, but what I wanted to do is to offer them a real practice where it was more focused and more, it would target specific skills like presentation, debate, turn taking, and then of course the grammar and the vocabulary. This practice club and the program of a month of practicing, and I knew that the language these native speakers was not scripted. It was not a script. It was genuinely how they felt they could communicate the ideas they wanted to communicate to the learners. So it was them speaking, not fabricated language. I knew that the materials, the vocabulary, the grammar, the phonetics, everything that I was going to choose in this new program had to be real. This new program being not the practice club, but the study club. Now a new program is born. We have the study club, which is 3 months of developing skills and being in touch with the language. So we have essentially authentic materials meaning materials in the form of a podcast, a blog post, book novel made or written by native speakers for native speakers. So it's not really designed for learners. So if a learner would read it, it would be more challenging essentially, because they would use the words that most people will use, native speaker will use to address someone or to kind of talk about a subject in specific. But then we had useful skills, of course, presentation, cooperation, write essays, which is important in the sense that it gives you time to kind of really polish the words and think of the words that you want to use and the structures that you want to use. Then for you later when you're talking, it would be, those systems would be formed in your mind, in your brain, and then you would use them maybe more easily. And contact with the language, because we would be suggesting real life, real authentic material and language. So YouTube videos, podcasts, blog posts, all of that comes in the picture. And then of course we would support that with the explanation and exercises to kind of focus on those most important vocabulary, because it's challenging. There might be, we might want to know everything, but we would have to focus on simple things to grasp the idea of the material. Now, there is lots of research around teaching a second language. In this case, English as a second language, which is what I do. Trust me when I say that I literally stopped doing something I love doing, which is teaching English, for a while, because I wanted to kind of get myself into that research and read about that, trying to find an answer to maybe improving my methodology of teaching, to kind of find a better way to put together this program, these two programs. So we have this practice program and then the study club program. So how to put it together in a way that would make sense for both the students and myself, and then would help them and kind of propel them through their learning process. So I did that, but then there is a lot more that I would have to of course learn and read more about that. But what I've done, these two programs that we've managed to put together, is the implementation. So right now I've already done that practice club, which I'm going to repeat soon, and then I'm in the middle of the study club, which is going great. I'm really happy with the results, and if you want to do it, remember the commitment is study club. The commitment for the study club will be 3 months, and the commitment for the practice club will be like 5 weeks. There will be a week of preparation and then 3 or 4 weeks of the real thing. So there you go. So let me know if you're interested in knowing more, because I'm going to be posting more of this information, really diving deep into what we're trying to build here, which is basically programs that make sense for people that have been through many different methodologies and things, trying to get to that level of English where they feel more confident. Thank you very much. Remember that my name is Jamil Velasquez from Practice Real.